Hi everyone, Colleen Wilson here. I'm so glad to be back with you again, talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is knowing, growing, and showing ourselves through nervous system regulation. So all about self-awareness, understanding our nervous system and our stress response, growing our resilience and our flexibility of our nervous system, and being able to show ourselves and express ourselves into the world with a level of regulation. So I'm using Dr. Lineas' book as a book study, her Heal Your Nervous System book, which I have in hard copy, Kindle and Audible because it is that good. And today we are talking about chapter 8, regulation, which is step 2 on her 5-phase process for nervous system regulation. So we started with awareness, we're moving into regulation, and then next time we'll be chatting about restoration, which are the first 3 steps of the 5-step process. But what's important to understand is that these are not siloed steps. Like, in other words, you finished awareness, tick it off, boom, you go to regulation. No. We start with awareness, of course, because we don't know that we need nervous system regulation until we become aware that we are living in a hyper or hyper-aroused nervous system state, that we are living with regular or chronic levels of stress, and that it is playing havoc with our bodies. It has played absolute havoc with my body. And I'm delighted to say that part of this journey has been a huge reclamation of health for me. Understanding that nervous system dysregulation causes high inflammatory response, it raises our levels of cortisol, it creates high oxidative stress, it compromises mitochondrial function. So at a cellular level, nervous system dysregulation is impacting our bodies. And I've come out of an horrendous year in 2023, where despite being a student of nervous system work and understanding the brain and the stress response since, goodness, 2011, I still managed to get myself into a point where my nervous system was so dysregulated. I ended up with shingles last year, and it was a horrific year. It was one of those unspeakably stressful years, with my kids being sick and going through big stuff and business. It was just, I'm not even going to get into it. It was just massive. But despite all of that I thought I knew, I still ended up with a chronic manifestation of nervous system dysregulation. So Dr. Lineas' book came at the same time that I was also studying mitochondrial dysfunction and understanding the compromise at a cellular level. And when she started talking about these physical manifestations of nervous system dysregulation, I was just like, cha-ching, it just really dropped for me. So this module on regulation comes out of awareness. We grow into this understanding, and then we move into regulation. So regulation is about recognizing when we are in the yellow or red state, so when we are aroused, or even when we're sliding into purple, we're sliding into hyperarousal, and being able to put inputs, give ourselves inputs that are regulating on our nervous system. So the nervous system is the one part of our body that's quite hard to get to, right? You can't pull out a nerve and look at it, or scan it in a machine, or go and give it a particular treatment. So with regulatory processes, Dr. Lineas uses a wonderful term that she's coined this term in this context called portals. So a portal is a gateway or an access point, right? And so she's given us specific portals that we can use to go in and access our nervous system and regulate it. And these are so powerful because they are not something that we need to now go and put half an hour aside every morning and go and do this. No, it's things that we can build into our lives and actually learn as we stress, as we even late for an appointment, or somebody says something and it upsets us a little bit, we can immediately employ these mechanisms. So one of the portals is breath work. We've spoken about this before. I think we'll speak about this forever because it is so powerful. So one of the forms of breathwork that she recommends is called the physiological sigh. I've always known this as the SIP sigh. That's what I call it. And wow, it is so powerful. So I've actually come into a point in my life where I just bring this in so regularly. I do it most mornings. I just do either 5 of them if I'm short on time, or I time 5 minutes. But really, it's not about making this a stress, right? It's just about building it into our lives. And these portals can be done proactively and reactively. So we can do them to like feed and nourish our nervous system. And we can also do them reactively when something happens and we need to bring our nervous system back to regulation, back to a green state. So the physiological sigh is this deep inhale through the nose. And then at the top of the inhale, there's just one more sip in, and then a slow exhale through the mouth. So I'm just going to show you, or you can listen to what it sounds like. So it's a deep inhale. So the inhale is quite quick and sort of vigorous. And then at the top of the inhale, you just take another sip through your nose of air. And then you exhale through pursed lips, loosely pursed lips, slowly. And as you exhale, you just feel your shoulders drop and your nervous system calm. And it's just this absolutely delicious. So that is the SIP sigh, or the physiological sigh. And that's one portal. You might have your own breathwork technique. Whatever works for you, use it. It is magic, and it is free, and it is accessible to us all the time. So why not? Another portal to the nervous system is touch. So touch by other people can be triggering for some people. You've got to have the awareness to know what is good for you and what isn't. But if it's something that calms you, then go and do it as much as you can, or ask for it. Ask your family or your loved ones to rub your feet, rub your back, rub your hand, give you a head massage, go for a massage. And self-touch is so brilliant. Boy, we can do this for ourselves as well. I've taken to using one of the doTERRA oils called Serenity, which I love to use at night. And I've got it in a roller, and I roll it on my feet, and then I rub my feet. I give myself a little short reflexology session. So I've got the aromatic olfactory stimulation to the nervous system, which is very calming. I find it calming. And then I've got the physical touch as well. So you see how you can build these things into your day without having to make it a block of time. And for some people, a block of time is great and it works. And if you're one of those people, super duper, do the block of time. Otherwise, integrating it through the day is amazing. And of course, doing it reactively. So if something happens that stresses you out, just to grab your shoulder and just gently rub, just understanding that this touch is powerful. So when I met with my nervous system group earlier today, and we were chatting through this module because we've been running it as a group book study, we spoke about how powerful the awareness and the intention is behind the activity. So we might in the past have grabbed hold of our shoulder blade, our trapezius muscle, and given ourselves a rub anyway. But when we do this with the understanding that it's a portal to the nervous system, somehow it amplifies and intensifies the experience of regulation on our nervous system for us. Is that not amazing? There's another portal through the muscles, very simple exercises to tense up all your muscles as much as you can, all your body or part of your body, and then release. And you just feel that absolute literal release in your body, and you can do that a few times. It restores flexibility and blood flow, and it just, it's another delicious one. Then this concept of interoception. So interoception is often known as our 8th sense. And interoception is something that we can cultivate, and is so good to cultivate over time. It is the awareness of our physical sensations. It is a somatic awareness, but particularly an awareness of inside of our bodies. So what is going on inside? So if you think about it this way, our nervous system is governing everything. It's the autonomic nervous system is carrying on with digestion, respiration, detoxification, all of those processes. Our nervous system as a whole is governing everything. So when we are getting signals that we've got a headache, we've got hunger, we're thirsty, we need to go for a wee. That's part of our nervous system sending messages through the various organs and systems that there is a need. How clever is that? This is dialogue. Our body is telling us, because it's rumbling and we've got an empty feeling, I am hungry. And if we go hungry for too long, we stress our nervous system because our bodies don't feel safe because they know that they need food. So there's a whole signaling cataclysmic reaction chain in our bodies that is telling us we're hungry, danger, there's no food, I'm very hungry. And so instead of waiting until we are absolutely ravenous and we've sent all these danger responses back to our nervous system, be aware at the first sort of twinge of hunger. Hopefully we're aware before that because we're proactive in our lives, but not to let messages roll into full-blown bursting for the loo, desperately, ravenously hungry, pounding headache, because that's when the messages are now screaming. But believe me, those messages came at a much quieter tone, much earlier on. So interoception is about developing that eighth sense, understanding what's happening in our internal body, changes in temperature, pain, thirst, hunger, just all of these messages. And then what gets super cool is when we start dialoguing with this. So the conscious part of us, the part of us that's able to get up and go and grab a glass of water because we've had a signal of thirst, is able to read the message, go, oh, I'm thirsty, no problem, I'm going to go and get a glass of water. And so this very constructive dialogue happens, which is regulating for our nervous system. And the converse is also true. When we ignore the interoceptive messages, when we ignore our eighth sense, our nervous system gets dysregulated. So meeting the needs of our body with this moment by moment awareness, this body awareness, this body intelligence, I call it BQ, is an incredible way of being to cultivate in our lives. And in fact, she even talks about being bodyful rather than being mindful. So we know the mindfulness movement has grown greatly. It's got huge traction in the last 2 decades. But mindfulness implies that we are aware in our minds, which is fine, except it excludes this embodied awareness. So bodyfulness is just a playfulness on the words of mindfulness, saying, let's bring that awareness to our somatics. Let's bring a mindfulness practice to our bodies, because our body awareness is part of the communication mechanism both ways, a two-way communication mechanism. When we meet the needs, it communicates regulation and safety to our nervous system. When we don't meet the needs, our nervous system is communicating with us. So developing this constructive, responsive communication through this eighth sense is just incredibly powerful. Then another portal to our nervous system is movement. And I've got to say, none of this is stuff that most of us don't know. Of course we know movement's good for us. But when we see, perceive, engage with movement as a nervous system regulator, somehow it just shows up differently in our bodies. It just does different work, from feeling good or making us fit or getting our heartbeat going. A lot of us will go, I'm going to do cardio, I'm going to get my heartbeat going, or I'm going to do resistance training, I'm going to build some muscle mass and get some definition. Actually, what if all of that is doing that and building nervous system resilience and flexibility, because it is regulating. So movement is so key. And if we are highly sensitive, highly stressed, highly overwhelmed, then it's about gentle movements. It's about movements that soothe, just a gentle walk, maybe a few minutes of yoga, downward dog into child's pose, just being fluid. I personally love dancing, so I don't get an opportunity to do it a lot, but I will, when I can, pop my AirPods in, just put on a song or two and just dance and just move. And I was saying to the people on the call this morning, something that my somatic nervous system coach has been working with me. He's a chiropractor and a cranial sacral therapist, and we've been working somatically with my nervous system regulation for the last few months, which has been profound. And he was talking about just how we stretch in the morning being such an incredible regulating signaler. So instead of just a little stretch like this, is actually to stretch our arms up and stretch our bodies to the side and stretch them over, curve to the side, bend down, bend forward, arch your back, bend back, put your head back, really just feeling into multiple dimensions of movement just for a minute, not even, into our body, and just awakening it and feeding all of this messaging of regulation to our nervous system. And then as we build our regulation capacities and our nervous system flexibility and resilience, we can start doing more and more vigorous exercise. And again, it's the awareness about where our range is, where is our ceiling, where it starts to tip us over into a stress response, and being enormously mindful about that. So this is our regulation module, which is, just to summarize, something that we get to do as we experience a stressor. We get to respond, to antidote it with these regulatory mechanisms: movement, breath, touch, interoceptive body intelligence, eighth sense interoception skills. And we get to feed our nervous system and balance. So as we're going into red and yellow, if we find that that's not constructive, because sometimes it is constructive to be there, especially in the yellow for a little bit, or in the red if we need to get out of trouble quickly. But being able to come down to green as soon as it's appropriate is where the skill lies, and where this regulatory process becomes so powerful. So that is the reactive regulatory mechanisms. And then proactive is that if we get to do this every day or throughout the day or every couple of days, then we get to also build, like we nourish the nervous system. So we're building resilience and flexibility in anticipation of life happening, and creating a level of stress and nervous system arousal. So that is a very, very brief summary. Please don't forget to go and get the book for yourself. I can't recommend it enough. I know that it's going to be one of those books, one of many, that I read throughout my entire life. And my thanks as always to Dr. Lineas for bringing this work to us and just making nervous system regulation, resilience, and flexibility such a tangible, take-home, bite-sized, accessible, packaged information for us. So from my heart to yours, thank you for being with me.